Hey everyone, Pastor Andrew here. Isn't this story of Moses amazing? Like one of the coolest stories in the whole Bible, right? And what's so cool about Moses' story, and really all stories in the Bible, is that it's all designed to point to Jesus. But with the story of Moses, that's extra clear. Even in just the opening of his story, check this out. With Moses, there was a Pharaoh that was afraid and tried to kill all the baby boys. And with Jesus, there was also a king who was afraid and tried to kill all the baby boys. It's the same. With Moses, his parents acted in faith and were brave to protect their baby. And with Jesus, Mary and Joseph were also brave and acted in faith to protect their baby. It's the same. God chose Moses as a baby to set his people free from the bondage of Pharaoh. And God sent Jesus as a baby to set his people free from the bondage of sin and death. It's like the same, but even better. And as we keep looking at the story of Moses, we're going to see more and more how it really points to Jesus, the rescuer of the whole world. But I want to show you where part of the story can actually point to a problem that we have today. Pharaoh was afraid that the Israelites would soon become stronger than his people of Egypt, so he forced them to become slaves. Exodus 1:11 says that Pharaoh afflicted them, the children of Israel, with heavy burdens. What are these heavy burdens? Yeah, burdens kind of like this. He forced them to make these heavy bricks. And then they had to carry these bricks around and not just build buildings for the Pharaoh, but entire cities for him. This was their job, all day, every day, being slaves, making bricks, carrying them around, and building stuff for the Pharaoh. You see, Pharaoh wanted to keep God's people busy and exhausted from carrying these burdens day after day after day. He knew that as long as they were carrying these heavy burdens, they would never become the people that God wanted them to be. And this is where you and I fit in today. Did you know that a lot of us carry around burdens too? Now, not physical ones made out of like stone. That'd be weird if we were all carrying around rocks, right? But we carry around these heavy, invisible burdens. We carry these around in our hearts and our souls. And just like ones made out of rock, these burdens that we carry weigh us down. They exhaust us. They keep us from becoming the people that God wants us to be. I'm talking about burdens like being scared, being afraid of things, like being afraid of the dark, being afraid of water, being afraid of trying new things, afraid that something bad is going to happen. Being afraid is a heavy burden, and a lot of people carry this around. Then there's another burden of feeling alone, feeling like no one cares about you, like no one understands you, like no one wants you. This feeling makes you change who you are to try to fit in, but even still, you feel alone. That's a burden. There's a burden of being nervous. Maybe it's hard for you to relax. When there's something that you want to do, something that you know would be fun, but then there's this burden that keeps you from doing it. Almost like something is making up all kinds of ideas as to what could go wrong. That's a burden. There's another burden of feeling guilty. Maybe there's something that you did and you know you shouldn't have done it, and the thought of what you did is keeping you up at night. Maybe you've told somebody about this, maybe you haven't yet, but these thoughts are messing you up. Listen, that's a burden. We carry these around with us. And what's worse is we get used to having them with us. It becomes normal to us. These slow us down. They weigh us down. They keep us from becoming the people that God wants us to be. But just like God chose Moses to set his people free, God sent Jesus to set you free from your burdens. Jesus said, "I have come to set the captives free." He's talking about you. But first, we've got to stop thinking that these are normal, that it's fine for us to carry these around. It's not. The devil knows that as long as you carry these around with you, that you won't fully be the person that God made you to be. So let's get rid of these. But how? 1 Peter 5:7 says, "Turn all your worries over to him. He cares about you." Listen, we can't carry these. but Jesus can. He's more than strong enough. We need to give them to Jesus. How do we do that though? First, you have to trust that He cares for you. Believe this promise. Trust Him that every day He wants to take this burden from you because He loves you. Next, you need to talk to somebody about this. You've got to tell someone what's going on. Talk to your parents. Talk to your small group leaders. Let them know there's a burden that you've been carrying. Hopefully they'll be able to help you find some Bible verses so you can know about what God says about this burden. And then you can pray together to give these to Jesus. This is so big. You can pray something like this: God, I want this burden gone. Jesus, you're strong enough to carry this burden of feeling nervous, so today I'm giving it to you and I'm not picking it back up. And after you pray, you can keep reminding yourself that this problem, that this burden doesn't belong to you anymore, that Jesus is now the one that has that burden. For some of you, you'll be able to drop this burden right away. But for most of us, as we continue to find out what God says about this burden and believe that and pray and talk to our parents and small group leaders, we'll slowly start letting this burden down little by little by little until eventually it's gone and we're not carrying it anymore. Would you talk to your parents? Would you talk to your small group leader today so they can begin helping you let go of this burden? How is it that Jesus can help you take these? It's because He already paid the price for you to be free. Jesus is the better Moses, the one that came to set you free from the king of sin and death and burdens that we were all slaves to. He went to the cross to pay for your freedom, and He came back to life to make a way for you to be a part of His new family. You get to give these burdens to Jesus because He loves you and He already paid the price for you to be free.